trust did to you, which you did not deal with as a child and haven't come to terms with as an adult, and so is affecting you in your adult life. So of course the WhatsApp number is on the screen right now. You can talk to us using WhatsApp, or also if you're on social media using the hashtag LoopK24.
Welcome to the show. Florence Gitu, you are a psychologist.
I'm a marriage, family, and addiction professional.
Aha, okay. Yeah. And Wanjiru Givenji, I found you on Instagram.
Yeah.
So Mike posted this post and asking about childhood trauma,
Right.
and then I reposted it, and I loved what you had to say. So maybe we should start with you. What did you experience that made you think, and when did you think, oh my God, I have childhood trauma?
Wow, I think it's a very long topic, but I'll try to compress it.
Yes.
The environment that I grew up in, well, it had a lot of violence. There was a religion, the negative connotation of religion, and then there was a lot of boundaries that were crisscrossing that were not good.
Give us an example, because now I'm like, what does that mean?
Oh,
religion?
Yeah, okay. Religion, when we talk about religion, religion is not such a bad thing per se. However, we have negative religion, where you're not supposed to say something that is irking you. If someone of authority, maybe your parent or your teacher, does something that is negative to you, or they treat you in a manner that is not humane, you're not supposed to speak out because, okay, I'm a Christian, so because the Bible says you're not supposed to honor your parents, you're supposed to honor your elders. So even if they do something, you're not supposed to speak, you're supposed to keep quiet. And then also traditionally, you know, there is this thing that children are there to be seen and not to be heard.
Not to be heard.
Yes, so even when you are feeling very infringed, and rightly so, or you have a question, you're being told to jump, you don't want to ask how high, you're asking why should I jump? Because I am not understanding why you're telling me to jump. So you have to explain to me why I jump. And if I ask why, you're told children are supposed to be seen and not heard.
Can I ask, because I mean, this is something that you experienced as a child, and at what point in your adult life did you realize that what you experienced as a child is contributing to some challenges you may be having, either with relationships or with even just with yourself as an adult?
I was in campus. Then when you're in campus, it's a very new environment and you're on your own, not like when you're in primary school or you're in high school. So I got to see my other classmates are ABCD. They get support for ABCD. This is how they deal with things. This is how they deal. So I went and saw our campus psychologist. I went to a campus where we had a campus psychologist. Although she never really used to get a lot of walk-ins. So we started working with her with the journey, and then she told me, she shed light on some things, because I would get like my participation in class, my self-esteem, even if you know something, and then if you're in a public university, when you're giving out something, an idea, you're supposed to be so vocal. So even if you have your own idea, you sit back at it.
Yeah. You are very withdrawn.
Yeah, very withdrawn.
But you're a lawyer now.
Yes.
And so you went into a profession that demands that you speak and represent other people.
Yes.
And speak for others.
Yes.
Okay. And yet you were withdrawn.
Yes. My choice of doing law was more or less a second choice. Because my first choice was actually media, and then I was like, my personality cannot do the public. So when I took law, there are those lawyers who don't really need to go to court, and there's that. There are those
you
lawyers
wanted to do conveyancing.
There are those lawyers who are just so withdrawn. They don't need to talk about.
You didn't want to litigate.
Yeah, so there are people who would also do policies and stuff. I was like, at least this one is a bit more. It's not
putting you out there.
Yeah, it's not putting me out there. So it's more of a comfort zone, yeah.
So, Florence, there are people who walk around saying, I'm just not outspoken, or I'm shy, or I don't want attention. Because you could have called your withdrawal all those things. when do we know that it's a product of childhood trauma?
It depends on your ability to see that you are sort of different from others.
Okay.
And that comes in because of something we call attachment. If the attachment was negative from the caregivers as a child, you can be withdrawn.
What do you mean by negative? I mean, we're raising children, we don't want to mess up, we don't want to do the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is negative attachment?
Negative attachment is like when the child does something, like she's saying, somebody is not telling you this is not right in a good way, but they are reprimanding you. So once you are reprimanded once, twice, the third time you withdraw. And then as you grow, you might find yourself looking for peers who are like you,
Okay.
who have the negative attachment. When you are positive, it's like when the child does something and then you are there complimenting.
You affirm them.
You are affirming what they are doing. So even when they are in the crowd, they will be remembering, my dad said I'm this, mom said I'm this.
Right.
Who else matters?
Nobody else matters. Let me ask you something, Florence, because you see, a lot of the times parents parent the way they were parented, you know. And so if a parent believes that being harsh because they were parented that way is the way to go.
Yeah.
And, you know, it comes out in the language that they use. It comes out in the actions that, you know, they take around their children. And some of these things could be really, you know, traumatizing their children without them knowing. But then you hear things like, oh, you know, kids now are too soft nowadays,
Yes.
you know, and things like those. What would you tell to parents who are watching right now about the kind of language that they should use with their children and the kind of actions that they should take, even while disciplining their children, in a way that will not, you know, reinforce trauma, but can pass a message across and still discipline them and still show love?
First, you have to understand the times we are living in. I may have parented the way I was parented, but of course, things are changing. There is enlightenment. So there are things that you need to understand, and also the personality of your children. It is you to learn the personality of your children so that you can know when can I reprimand and when can I talk to them.
Okay.
Because there is something natural that comes when you are reprimanding. There is a way you look at the child, and the child will definitely know, now I will be reprimanded. And there is a way you can talk to them, and they will remember, I was told not to do that. So slowly by slowly, they will understand. But the personality of the child matters a lot.
Okay.
And
but
your personality too.
But I feel like there are parents who just don't want to bother with the burden of parenting because they are so busy doing other things. They come home and they are tired, and you come home and you have to deal with
that's
now.
neglect. Yeah,
No, it's true. So you come home and you're tired, and you know, now you've got these 4 or 5 children running around the house, and you know, so you start using words like "wewe ni mjinga sana," you know, things like those very harmful words which we don't realize. And then we pass that burden on to teachers to parent our children for us.
Children.
Something else, when a few weeks ago we had a conversation about beating of children because somebody had suggested, I believe it was Magoha who suggested that it should be brought back to schools. And we actually had many people comment and say, yes, children should be beaten. And we grew up, a lot of us, being beaten. What's the difference between beating for discipline and abuse? Because I think that line, I actually don't think it exists. I don't actually think you should hit a child, but I think that's abuse already. But I'm in a minority. What would you say is the difference? When has a parent crossed the line into abuse?
First and foremost, what will the beating help? That's the biggest question every parent should ask themselves.
I think most parents or even teachers beat because that is how they vent their frustration.
Yeah.
It's not even an issue of discipline. It's just an issue of me, I'm frustrated with this child, And so you beat the child to make yourself feel less frustrated.
Yeah.
Or like
And
you've
it's not
done
even an
something.
issue of disciplining the kid.
But okay, but go on, where's the line?
The line might be very thin. So the most important question is for every parent to ask themselves, what is the gain and what is the loss? Because beating doesn't mean much. And yet, you might feel, I have to beat just because you are beaten. So it is very important for you to be aware.
Right.
I'm now the parent. Did I like being beaten for nothing? Or should I look for an alternative? Reading widely might help you. Listening to other people might help you. But beating per se, I don't think is the best thing.
Okay.
And especially if a child can understand the language.
Let me ask a question, and let me
Yes.
ask you. Have you ever sat with your parents and said, do you know what? When I was a child, you did A, B, C, D, and this is how it has affected me as an adult. I still carry this issue, and I still carry this trauma, and I just want to understand why this happened.
Or are they watching you now and there'll be a Kamukunji after?
I'm putting that in mind. But one of the parents, I have had that conversation with one of my parents.
Right.
The other one, it is
It is a problem.
it is what it is. Yeah, so it's a topic that is dead on arrival. Yes, because I tried, and then it became what they call it. It evolved to something else. So we just live like that.
Okay.
Yes.
How do you forgive that? How did you undo your childhood trauma? Because, you know, when we spoke, you know, you're a mother of 2 now, you're married, and, you know, you've created a career. So maybe your parent is sitting back like, what else did she want? See, she's a success now. What did I do that was so bad? But so it might be difficult to have that conversation. Like you're saying, it's dead on arrival. So how do you then forgive them and continue to relate with them?
At this point, where you're all adults, it's easier, I guess it became easier to forgive because you don't see them every day.
Okay.
And also, you know, distance somehow helps you to heal. Because at times when you're in that environment, that toxic environment that you are in, you never really get to heal because you keep getting triggered and triggered. So fresh wounds either they get inflicted or the old ones keep getting opened up.
Okay.
Yeah, so the distance helps. So we see each other when necessary.
Oh.
Yes, when really necessary.
Do you limit interaction? Like, would you go home and spend the night? Would you go to your parents' place and spend the night?
No, not really. Yes.
Florence, let me ask a question.
Yes.
And this might upset many people, but I strongly believe not everybody should become a parent.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's true, because we live in a society where... No, it's true, because we live in a society where when you get to a certain age, you start getting that pressure of, are you getting children?
Yeah.
Are you getting married?
Una
Where, blah, 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 blah.
chelewa.
So, you know, all that pressure comes. And so you find people who go into parenting without being ready to be parents. Yeah. And so that, you know, sort of passes on to children in the way that they parent. So do you think that, you know, we should stop giving people pressure to get married, get children, if they are not ready to do so?
Would you really have control over people?
You know, there are people who...
And a lot of us are mistakes.
No, it's true.
Let's
but
be honest,
You know,
a lot
it
of
is
us are
very
mistakes.
difficult to have control over what I will tell you. But you can have control over how you will respond. Because if I'm pleasuring you, you are my child, and I'm asking you, when am I going to be called a grandma?
Sure.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that conversation
do you want
if you're
me
not
to
ready?
die without a grandchild?
Uh-huh.
So it is for the one I'm asking to decide, how do I respond? You can respond frankly. I don't feel like I am a good parent. Like I can make a good
Right.
parent. Being frank and being genuine with yourself, you will not be pressured. But when you are hiding under something, then the pressure will be on you, and you will become a parent when you are not ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the mistakes that you see us, because your girls are, well, we've even had Maggie on the show, and we know Fena, you're a mom of women, we know. What would you say are some of the mistakes that we now, the parents, are making that could lead to this childhood trauma? Yes.
You know, parenthood is difficult because it has no manual. It is you to decide, how do I want to parent? So whichever works for you and your child might be the best. Because if I come with a manual, I'll come with mine.
But there are some behaviors, like what you were saying, the negative attachment. There are some things that clearly lead to trauma.
Yes.
What are, we know the obvious ones, you know, sexual abuse, physical abuse, that kind of thing, growing up with domestic violence. But what are the more subtle ones that we might be missing, even as we have good intentions?
Okay. Being aware that you are starting to get a bit anxious or very angry. And then if you can, just walk out. Or leave the child where they are, go out, do something else, the kitchen, the table room, wherever. And then when you come, you will be a bit calm. So when you are now talking to the child, you will be measuring the words you are using. You will not be blurting the word that comes from your mind.
Right.
And slowly by slowly, remind the child what you are doing is not good. And if you continue, I continue getting angry. That might help a bit. Because if a child is small, like a 2-year-old, we call them the difficult 2 years. Because 1 minute he's on the bottle, the next one is on the TV. Before you know what he's doing, he's on the cooker.
Right.
Yes.
So you don't know how to control. If you can, remove things that can harm them. And then learn to be aware of where you are. Especially in the morning. Because morning is a difficult time.
Difficult.
Yeah,
Can
and
I ask,
especially
so
with the children who are leaving for school.
Morning
And
is
you're also
so
going to the
difficult.
office.
Yeah, because you also have your own pressures for the day.
Yes.
Let's get back to adults who have gone through trauma that they've not dealt with. So therapy can be a bit expensive.
Yes.
I've had so many people who've inboxed me with questions about where they can get help. And when I refer them to so-and-so counselors, the average rate was about 2,000 to 3,000 shillings per session. So for somebody who is unemployed, I went through that trauma. I feel like I need to speak about it to somebody.
It might be impacting your job hunting
Exactly.
ability.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that. You could be, going into depression. You're already thinking about suicide and things.
Yeah.
And you need to find a way that you can, deal with that trauma. What are some of the ways that somebody could begin to address those issues without necessarily having to pay for them?
Sometimes it might be difficult because unless you are in a church where there is free counseling, it might not be easy. Or because you might land on a quack and then you'll be hurt more. So the best way is to weigh which is more expensive, the trauma or the payment. And counselors are human beings. You can go to the counselor and tell them, I don't have money at the moment, but I'm struggling with this. I promise I will pay when I get the money. They'll help you.
Okay.
What about friendships? Because the circles that people keep, because you find like I don't know, have you talked to your friends about any of the things that you went through as a child?
Yes. I do have my close circle of friends. We've been friends for around 9 years.
Oh.
Yes. So when someone has an issue, we know how to navigate. If someone really needs medical help, if it's something that is beyond what we can do, we pull our resources together and we ensure one of us gets the help. And at times, if we just need someone there to help, maybe with the children or what, you just volunteer yourself. You can volunteer yourself to stay with the children or what, until they deal with the...
Can I say, for somebody who's been through childhood trauma, you're sounding very emotionally successful. Like you have these long-term friendships, you know, you have a career, you have a marriage and whatever. You're sounding like very well adjusted. So I'm curious, how long were you in therapy for? Like how long did it take you to undo that trauma?
Well, it's not yet fully undone because it's, I normally say it's healing is it's a continuous process.
Right.
So I still go once in a while.
What's a while?
When especially when I get the triggers, or because the triggers will always be there. As long as you are interacting with people, you'll always have the triggers.
Right.
So when the triggers get to a point where I cannot control them on my own, I speak to someone.
But I think knowing what those triggers are
Yeah,
is
that's
a
what I
very
wanted to
important
ask. Yeah,
thing for you.
what is a trigger? Maybe Florence, you can tell us.
A trigger is something that reminds you of where you are. Like now, if I talk badly to her, I would trigger what she had gone through as a child.
So emotionally, you send the person back?
Yes.
Okay.
So she remembers, that's exactly how my mother talked to me.
Ah.
That's exactly how my dad talked to me. And teacher so-and-so talked to me like that. So now, even our relationship can be affected because I'm reminding her of where she came from.
Okay, so we're having this conversation here and we'd love you to join us with your thoughts and comments. Remember, the WhatsApp number is on the screen right now. Have you suffered any childhood trauma? Have you suffered any childhood trauma? Let us know using the WhatsApp number on the screen and also hashtag LoopK24. When we come back, we're going to ask, how do you deal with this issue when you've just gotten into a relationship with somebody? Don't go too far.